Alright, so how to calculate CPA? That looks like a simple question, but it's not if you want to use a definitive formula. This video has the sole purpose to ask this question definitely. The formulas that I'm going to present here, they have explanation. They're based in economics. They're based in science, okay? In the contemporary landscape of digital commerce, the determination of an optimal cost per acquisition is frequently relegated of the domain of rules of thumb and best practices, the lack of rigorous economic grounding. Business owners and marketers are often advised to set their CPA targets based on arbitrary percentage of revenue, commonly cited as something like 20% of the ticket price, or maybe to determine testing budgets based on the retail price of a single unit. While these heuristics offer the psychological comfort or simplicity, they are economically hazardous. They fail to account for the intricate variances in cost structures and the statistical probabilities of conversion events, okay, and the fundamental law of diminishing marginal returns that governs all media buying. So here, we will dissect the components of unit economics, debunk the prevailing myths of ad testing with statistical proofs, and provide a granular methodology for calculating a CPA target that is based on facts grounded in economic reality and tailored to the specific liquidity constraints of the business, okay? So stick with me. I'm going to show here in my notes the formulas, the reasoning, and why you should be using this type of formula, okay? Alright, so the fundamental error in most CPA calculations is the focus on gross revenue, okay, rather than contribution margin. Revenue is a vanity metric that masks the underlying costs required to fulfill an order. A robust CPA target must be delivered from what remains after the product is delivered, not the price at which it is sold, okay? So let's define defining the true cost structure, okay? The calculation of sustainable CPA begins with a forcing audit of the unit economics, the direct revenues and costs associated with selling one unit, okay? They requires a departure from standard financial accounting, which aggregate costs, to managerial accounting, which isolates variable cost per unit, okay? So then we need to analyze the cost of goods sold, okay, which is COGS, okay, cost of goods sold. The cost of goods sold is the most obvious deduction, yet it is often miscalculated in the context of ad spend. From a physical product, COGS includes the manufacturing costs, the cost of raw materials, and the landing costs. The freight charges incurred to transport a product from the factory to the warehouse, okay? For an e-com, for example, if a blender sold for $200 but costs $50 to manufacture and $10 to ship from China to the US warehouse, the COGS is 60, okay? Now, for SaaS, while software is often viewed as like having zero COGS, this is inaccurate because for SaaS includes several usage fees, third-party API costs, and the customer support burden allocated to onboarding a new user, okay? So then we got variable costs, the silent profit killers. Beyond COGS, there exists a layer of variable costs that scale linearly with order volume. These are distinct from fixed costs, okay, like rent, salary, software subscription, which do not change with incremental sales. The best CPA formula must deduct these variable costs before determining the ad budget, as they are non-negotiable expenses triggered by the conversion itself, okay? So for common variable costs include payment processing fees, which is typically like 2.9, like is basically 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction for platforms like Stripe or Shopify payments on a $200 item. This is like for $200. This is like 6.10 that a merchant never sees. Okay. Then we also got fulfillment and logistics. The labor costs to pick, pack, and label the product, and the cost of the ship and label if free shipping is offered to the customer. Okay. We also got the packing. Yeah, packing materials, boxes, tape, branded inserts, and protective dunnage. Okay. And then we got sales commissions. If the sale involves a sales representative or an affiliate payout. Okay. So then we got the impact of return rates and refunds. A critical, often overlooked variable in CPA calculation is the return rate. In 2024, the average return rate for e-com was approximately 20.4%, okay, with projections rising to 24.5% by 2025. Certain industries face even steeper challenges. The apparel industry sees return rates between 30% and 40%, while electronics hover around 8 to 10%, okay? So then when a customer returns a product, the business loses not only the revenue, but often the shipping costs both ways, okay? And the packaging, while the ad spend used to acquire that customer is gone forever. Therefore, the ticket price used in any CPA formula must be the net average order value, net AOV, discounted by the refund rate, okay? So the formula for the net AOV is, no, let me put it this way. It's equal, there we go, gross AOV multiply 1 subtracting refund rate. Okay. Yeah. So ignoring this adjustment is a mathematical guarantee of overbidding, okay? If a business with a 30% return rate bids based on gross revenue, they are effectively bidding on phantom income, okay? Now, let's take a look at the synthesis of these factors leads to the contribution margin. This is the bedrock of the best CPA formula, okay? It represents the actual cash generated by a sale that is available to pay for two things: fixed cost and customer acquisition, okay? So the contribution margin equals net revenue subtracted by the COGS plus variable costs, okay? Yeah. All right, this metric is superior to ROAS because ROAS is a revenue-based metric. A ROAS of 4, which is 400%, might look successful, but if the product has a 10% margin, the business is losing money. Contribution margin describes the profitability potential of the product before marketing is applied, okay? Let's take a look at the best formula. What is the best formula here? The solvency and contribution. Having established the components of unit economics and the statistical requirements for data, we can now derive the best formula for determining our CPA target. This formula is best because it is rooted in solvency. It ensures the business never runs out of cash and profitability, okay? So first, let's determine the MACPA, the maximum allowable CPA. The first step is to calculate the absolute ceiling, the maximum allowable cost per acquisition, or break-even CPA. This is the point where the business makes exactly $0 profit but loses no capital, okay? Any bid above this number results in immediate destruction of value, assuming known back and LTV, which we discussed before. Any bid above this number results in immediate destruction of value, okay? So then, the target CPA, profit adjusted. Business exists to generate profit, not just to break even. Therefore, the target CPA must deduct a desired profit margin. This margin is not arbitrary. It must be sufficient to cover the business fixed costs like rent, salaries, and insurance, which are not included in variable cost calculation. There are two ways to define a desired profit, okay? The first one is fixed dollar amount. I need to make, for example, I need to make $20 per order to cover my overhead, or percentage of revenue. I need a 20% net margin to satisfy investors. So the best formula to target CPA is target CPA equals, all right, target CPA equals MACPA subtracted by the desired contribution profit, right? Or expanding this formula, that will be target CPA equals net revenue subtracted by variable costs multiplied by one less. Let me write this down for you. Let's expand this fully, okay? Margin percentage, okay? So let me explain why this formula is superior, the economic argument. First reason is protection against insolvency. Unlikely the 20% of ticket price rule, this formula guarantees that every acquisition contributes to the overhead. It effectively locks in solvency. In low margin industries like consumer electronics, blindly following a 20% rule will likely result in CPAs that exceed the contribution margin, causing the business to hemorrhage cash with every sale. The second reason for this is competitive aggression. Conversely, for high margin business like supplements or digital goods, the 20% rule might artificially depress the CPA target. Okay, just for you to understand, I'm just comparing to overall rules because when determining CPA, generally on the internet, we have these overall rules. There's the 20% rule. That's why I'm comparing with this one, okay? The third argument is algorithm compatibility. Modern Android platforms like Google PMax, Meta Advantage Plus rely on smart bidding strategies like Target CPA. These algorithms optimize bid in real time based on likelihood of conversion, providing the algorithm with a contribution-based CPA gives it the widest possible latitude to find customers. A constricted arbitrary CPA stars the algorithm. A calculated maximized CPA feeds it, okay? If we include order upsells, to maximize the target CPA, one must not look at the product price, but the average order value, okay, of the entire funnel. This includes order bumps, add-ons at checkout, and one-click upsells like post-purchase offers. So, the funnel AOV equals plus, never find space here, upsell price, okay, multiply by take rate. All right, so let's use a scenario here. A $50 product with a $30 upsell that 20% of people buy. The funnel AOV is 50 plus 30 multiply 0.20 equals $26, right? The impact is extra $6 in AOV flows almost entirely to the contribution margin minus minimal COGS, allowing the advertiser to increase their target CPA by nearly $6. In a competitive auction, a $6 higher bid can be the difference between dominating a niche and invisibility, okay? All right, so while the formula in the last chapter ensures immediate profitability, certain business models, especially SaaS like software as service and high repeat e-commerce, operate on different economic timeline. They utilize customer lifetime value to justify a higher CPA, often accept an initial loss to generate long-term cash flow, okay? So let's consider this. The LTV CAC ratio. For recurring revenue models, the best formula shifts from immediate contribution to the LTV CAC ratio or CAC ratio. The industry standard benchmark for a healthy business is 3:1. This means for every $1 spent on customer acquisition cost, the business should generate $3 in contribution margin, not just revenue, over the customer life, okay? So, target CPA LTV equals LTV divided by 3, where LTV equals average monthly gross profit divided by churn rate. So why not bid 100% of LTV? If a customer is worth $1,000 over 3 years, why not spend $900 to acquire them? The answer is cash flow. You must pay the ad platform today, but the customer pays you monthly. This creates a cash flow through or valley of death. If a SaaS company spends $300 to acquire a customer paying $30 per month, it takes like 10 months just to recover the ad spend, the payback period. Most bootstrap companies must prioritize a short payback period like 0 to 3 months. They should stick to the MACPA formula in the previous chapter, or a very conservative LTV model, okay? And for venture-backed companies, they can't afford a long payback period like 12 to 18 months because they have external capital to float to the loss. They can use like the 3:1 LTV ratio to aggressively acquire market share. All right, so a nuanced understanding of CPA requires distinguish between average CPA and marginal CPA. The distinction is critical for scaling. As a business spends more on ads, the efficiency of this spend typically decreases, a phenomenon known as the law of diminishing returns, okay? So let's check the law of diminishing returns in ad spend. When an ad campaign begins, the algorithm targets the low-hanging fruit, users with the highest intent to buy. As the budget scales, the algorithm must reach broader, less qualified audiences to find the next customer. So consequently, the cost to acquire each additional customer rises. The average CPA reported in the dashboard is a lagging indicator that averages the cheap customers from the beginning with the expensive customers from the scale. The marginal CPA tells you the cost of the next customer, okay? So let's check this formula here. Let's put it here. Marginal CPA equals total span divided total conversions. Scenario A, spend 1,000, get 20 customers, average CPA is 50, right? Or scenario B, spend 2,000, get 30 customers, average CPA is $66.66. A marketer looking at the average CPA might think, if my target CPA is $70, I'm still profitable. I should keep spending. However, the economist calculates the marginal CPA. So we have like additional spend of $1,000. Additional customers will be 10. A marginal CPA, it's 1,000 divided by 10, which is $100, right? So the incremental customers cost $100 each. If the MACPA break-even point is $80, the business lost $20 on every customer acquired with the extra $1,000, even though the blended average still looked profitable, okay? And why this is best? The best way to scale is to increase budget only as long as the marginal CPA remains below the MACPA. Ignoring this leads to profitless scaling where revenue grows but total profit dollars shrink, okay? The economic formulas must be translated into the technical reality of ad platforms like Google Ads and Meta Ads. So these platforms utilize machine learning algorithms that require specific conditions to function optimally. Both Google and Meta operate on learning phase. When a new ad set is launched, the algorithm explores the audience to find conversion patterns. To exit the learning phase and stabilize costs, the system generally requires 50 conversion events within a 7-day window. This technical requirement reinforces the statistical argument against ticket price testing, okay? If a budget is too small to generate 50 conversions a week, the campaign remains in learning limited mode, leading to volatile and inefficient CPAs. So the implementing strategy here is to consolidate budgets. Instead of testing 10 products with small budgets, test one product with a budget large enough to generate 50 conversions per week, okay? Then optimize for upper funnel events initially. If the budget cannot support 50 sales, optimize for add to cart or initiate checkout initially to fit algorithm data, then switch to purchase optimization once data density improves, but only in the beginning, because after a certain time you never should be using like those other events, only purchase, okay? But in the beginning is acceptable, right? So to summarize the best approach, reject heuristics. Do not use arbitrary percentage. They cause insolvency in low margin business and opportunity costs in high margin business, okay? Calculate unit economics. Determine the contribution margin by subtracting COGS, variable costs, and refund rates from the net AOV. Determine solvency. The maximum allowable CPA is your break-even point. This is the ceiling, okay? Set the target. Subtract your desired profit margin from the MA CPA to find your target CPA, okay? Test with significance. Set testing budgets at 3 times to 5 times your target CPA to ensure statistical significance and satisfy algorithmic learning requirements. And scale via marginals. Monitor marginal CPA to ensure that incremental spend is generating incremental profit, not just incremental revenue. By adopting this rigorous framework, the advertiser moves from the role of a gambler to that of an investor, okay, deploying capital with calculated speculation of return based on the immutable laws of economics and statistics, right? I know we might have some questions, so drop here in the comments. Don't forget to hit the bell. I don't know how to draw the bell. Don't forget to hit the bell and subscribe to the channel, and I see you in the next one.